Hello, viewers. Thanks for watching. I'm so happy and excited that I'm able to bring you interviews with our amazing Miss America title holders. I would like to encourage you to please click the subscribe button and the notifications bell so that you're aware of when I post my videos. Also, please consider donating and supporting my show. You can donate to my Cash App at $ JTROBIN or look me up online and find my GoFundMe account. I'm so excited for my guest today. She is Miss America 1969, Judi Ford Nash. Judi, welcome. I'm so
Thank you.
happy to have you on my show.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
Thank you. Yeah, once again, I'm so excited to have you. When I advertised that I was interviewing you, I had an amazing reaction online. I'll read some of the comments to you. Charles O'Quinn said, "This is one I'm excited for. She's always been one of my favorites." Kylene Barker McNeil, Miss America 1979, she said, "Judi was my inspiration to become a gymnast. I saw her win as a young girl, and exactly a decade later, I became Miss America." And Peggy Clapp said, "Oh my gosh, I love her." So those are just some of the responses.
Oh, that's
Um,
very
yeah, I'm so happy I was able to meet you at the Miss America pageant in December at the autograph signing. You signed my book and I got a picture with you. So I'm so happy about that. So once again, welcome and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, so let's get started. Could you please tell me about your childhood and your background? How did you first get, start competing?
Well, I grew up in Belvidere, Illinois, which is a
Okay.
small about an hour and a half northwest of Chicago.
Oh,
Uh, Family was just my brother and my parents. And I was pretty much of a tomboy growing up. I lived in a neighborhood that was predominantly boys and played with them most of the time. And um, I started on my local swim team when I was 8 years old
okay.
and I not only swam, but I also enjoyed the diving part. So I started diving when I was 8. And um, as I went through high school, I found that I had a lot more opportunities to compete in trampoline. Uh,
Okay.
I did in diving because we didn't even have an indoor pool in my town. So I basically took up trampoline to improve my diving and then just
Oh,
competing in trampoline. And I really was not a pageant person. I mean, it never dawned on me to enter a pageant. We didn't have a local that went to Miss Illinois, uh,
mhm.
but I worked as a lifeguard at this local swimming pool. And when I was 16, um, the manager of the local Super Value grocery store called me and wanted to know if I would like to be Miss Super Value in the Boone County Fair Queen contest.
Okay.
So yeah, it was kind of a lark, and my girlfriends and I were like, "Oh, I said I'm not doing that," and they were, "Oh yeah, let's do it." So we did, and I won. And then you automatically the local fair queens go to the state fair queen contest,
Mhm.
and I won that. So um, I went back. Basically, I thought I was going to crown my successor, and I was going to go off to college. And then the local fair board president at that time, if you didn't have a local in your area, you could appoint someone to
Okay.
go to Miss Illinois pageant. So when I went to crown my successor at the Boone County Fair Queen contest, he said, we're going to appoint you to be Miss Boone County, and next summer you're going to be in the Miss Illinois pageant.
Okay.
And I was like, "You're kidding me." He goes, like, you can do your trampoline for the talent,
Mhm.
and it'll be great. We just have all this faith in you." And so I kind of went off to college and forgot about it.
Okay.
And and so I actually I went to school my freshman year at what was then the University of Southwestern Louisiana.
Mhm.
Uh, at that time, before Title IX, there weren't a lot of opportunities for competition for women.
Wow.
Actually, on a men's team, and I was the first woman in the history of the school to win a varsity letter in athletics. So
Wow, congratulations. Wow.
I was pretty proud of that. But but it was funny because we go to meets and all of the events would be like the men's events. There was no balance beam or unevens. It was high bar and side horse and that kind of thing. But I came and did the trampoline. So I'd walk in the gym and they're like, "Well, she can't compete," and they were getting their rule books out. And it said you had to be a man, but at that time, there just weren't a lot of athletic programs for women. So, they were like, well, I guess there's nothing preventing her from doing this. So,
Right.
yeah, that was fun. But anyway, so then I was actually going to stay down there in the summer. I had a summer job, and my mom said, oh, well, you need to come back here because, you got that Miss Illinois pageant. And I went, oh, I forgot about that. So I came back and I got with my high school coach and I said, I need to develop a trampoline routine that's
Mhm.
going to take up 2 minutes and 40 seconds. And, if you compete in trampoline, it's a 10 bounce routine, and that's kind of it. It doesn't take long at all. And to try to stretch that out into, 2
Right.
seconds was pretty tough to do. So we developed something. I did a little acrobatic dance to kind of warm up before I went and got on the trampoline and then did 2 routines. The problem was they'd never had that kind of an act there before. So, there's rules like you can't have anyone else on the stage except for the contestant.
Mhm.
Well, in trampoline, you normally have spotters to, like, just in case something happens, they can catch you and keep you from breaking your neck. But I wasn't allowed to have spotters, and I wasn't allowed to warm up. So when I got on national TV on Saturday night to do my trampoline routine, I hadn't stepped foot on the trampoline since Thursday when I competed. So,
Wow.
that's just kind of not the way you you do an athletic event. But they didn't know. They had no
Precedent.
past to base it on.
Right. Very cool, very cool. The person who told me about your amazing talent was actually Dorothy Benham Perez, Miss America. Yeah, I interviewed. She was my last interview, and I asked her what were some of her favorite talents, and she mentioned yours, and she said that that was something that the Miss Americas often talked about because you were doing all the flips and stuff, and you had your hair done in the beehive and everything.
Yes.
Which I love your style. When I look back at your videos and you just look beautiful now and then, but you just look so beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, in all the time and all of your pictures. But since we talked about your talent, I want to show it to the audience. So here is the talent of Miss America 1969. Let's watch our talent.
Ford, Miss Illinois.
Very cool. Very cool. Do you remember your thoughts and like? Were you nervous? Were you scared? Because you said you couldn't practice. You
Oh,
couldn't warm up.
I was that was my biggest fear because when you compete in trampoline, in a normal competition, sometimes your knees buckle, things happen, and if you get one shot at it, that's it. And without being able to warm up or practice, even the days leading up, um, I was very nervous. And of course, by the end of the week, you're so tired, and I was just, please don't let my knees buckle. And I purposely didn't do any difficult routines. The hardest of the two routines that I did was, I think, the compulsory routine for competition that year.
Mhm.
So, without a spotter, I didn't do any double somersaults. And so I just felt like I was playing it safe as far as the routines, but things can happen. And I just wanted to get through the whole thing without knees buckling, without falling off, without having a
Right.
bad experience. So when I finished that and got off, I was just like, hallelujah. I can really.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, it all worked out clearly. Going into finals night, how did you feel? I know you had won a prelim. You won swimsuit, right? Is that correct?
Actually was a double preliminary winner.
Whoa, you were a double prelim winner.
Yeah, I won both swimsuit and talent. And they don't, of course, give it for evening gowns. So I I felt fairly confident that I would make top 10, which that was my goal when I went there. That
Mhm.
I just wanted to make top 10 so I could be on TV on Saturday night. And I had a plane load of people from my hometown who were flying in on Friday. And all I really did Friday night, I think, was evening gown. So I kind of wanted them to see me compete and to get their money's worth. So my goal was just to make top 10. And then after that, my goal was to not fall off the trampoline during my talent and then just relax in it and enjoy the experience.
Right. And when you were crowned, you guys were sitting down, right? Weren't you
I'm
sitting
sorry.
down? Were you sitting down when you were crowned? Like
Well, they
waiting?
announced top five, and we were sitting down, and then we got up to answer the question, and then went back, and then they called us like from the chairs. We weren't standing up.
Right. All right, so I'll play the video and then we can talk about your crowning moment. Maybe what were you feeling, thinking, in that moment. All right, so here's the crowning moment of Miss America 1969, Judi Ford Nash.
Miss Illinois is Miss America, the young lady who excelled in talent, the trampoline, who won swimsuit competition. Excuse me, just get on the other side, darling. Miss America, congratulations to you. We are going to sing your song, and I know it's going to make it this time. Here we go. Oh, Miss America, this is your idea.
So do you remember what you were thinking or feeling in that moment when you're walking down the runway?
Well, when they, well, at that time, you had your top 10, the top 10 all competed, and then they announced a top five, and just those came out and answered the question. And I was the last one that was chosen. So they had um, the other four all went before me, and I was kind of nervous about the question. And one girl was a music major, and so they asked her um, basically why she picked that. And one girl worked as a bacteriologist in a pea factory all summer, and so they asked her what that was. And so I'm thinking, well, I'm golden. They're going to ask me about trampoline because
Uh-huh.
that's so unusual.
Mhm.
So as I said, I was the last one up, and so earlier in the week, we had to fill out this questionnaire, and so that Bess Meyerson, as she was talking, she could say, this is Judi Ford, and she's from Belvidere, Illinois, and blah, everything about what she put on there. So as we're going to rehearsal, my hostess said, now did you fill out the form? And I went, oh, forgot. So in the bus on the way over there, I'm filling, this thing out. And I get to this question that said, if you were chosen Miss America, what would be your greatest aim or whatever? So it's something along that. Then so I'm like thinking, okay, world peace, thing. So I went to make people learn to live together more peacefully and happily. And I thought, that sounds good.
Right.
So I get up there and I'm talking to Bert Parks ahead of time, and he's got these cue cards that have big print in it, so he didn't have to wear his glasses. And so he was making some jokes about, the trampoline and how high I got on that. And, and as he made a joke about Ed McMahon being higher than that or something like that.
Okay.
And so the audience is laughing, and I'm reading this card. And I just went, and my question was, Judi Ford, on your own questionnaire, you said that if you were chosen as Miss America, you would want to make people learn to live together more peacefully and happily.
Mm-hmm.
How exactly would you do that? Well, in the video, I am like standing here for a full 8 seconds. And I'm sure people thought, wow, she is formulating this great question and this great answer. And what I was actually thinking for those 8 seconds was, this is so unfair. They're asking her about her summer job, and they're asking me about world peace. Anyway, and I said, in order to make people live together more peacefully, I think that a person has to learn that he is no better than his neighbor, and that all people are equal and should be given equal opportunity for all things. Thank you.
Excellent.
It has nothing to do with the question, but it got me off stage. And so then I sat down, and they went to commercial, and I remember sitting in the chairs, and I thought, okay, this is great. The worst I can do is 5th place. I mean, I was ecstatic. And so they call the 4th runner up, and she goes, and I'm like, this is fantastic. The worst I can do is 4th place. And I kept going down. The worst I can do is 3rd place. I got down to Miss Massachusetts and myself, and all of a sudden I went, there's an outside chance I could actually win this thing. And that's the first time it ever crossed my mind. I was the first runner-up, and I was like, really? I was just blown away.
Well, I have so many more questions. First of all, I want to talk about your style, because you are beautiful now, but when you were competing, you look gorgeous. Where did you get your style? Did you have a team to tell you what to wear, to do your hair? Was it your idea? Because you look phenomenal. So let's talk about your style. You're welcome.
Actually, I had 6 weeks from the time I won Miss Illinois till I was in Atlantic City. So,
wow.
And during that time, I think that was when I was the county fair queen.
Okay.
State fair queen. Basically, it was very lucky for me that beehives were in then, because I didn't know what to do with my hair when I was trampoline.
Okay.
And at the Miss Illinois pageant, which was televised at that time, I was the last one to compete in talent, and then they went to commercial, and I had to be back on stage in a gown. And of course, back then you wore the leather long gloves that were hard to get on anyway. And I had 90 seconds to change and get back out there. So there was no way I could do anything with my hair. So luckily, beehives were in, and so I did have a hairdresser that came out and put it in there, and I think I had a hair piece in there. Then I had 2 hair nets over the back. So I mean, I could have probably fallen off the trampoline and bounced back up on my head. But my young son, he was watching the video when I think he was 9 years old. And so I was showing him the video, and he said, "Wow, Mom, is that you?" And I said, "Well, yeah, don't you think it looks like me?" And he goes, "What'd you have that light bulb on your head for?"
Oh my God. Well, I think Beehive should come back because I like it. I like it a lot. So going back to your year of service, you are Miss America 1969. Can you tell me one or some of your any stories about your year, like some of your fondest memories, funny stories?
Well, my fondest memory is my USO tour to South Vietnam. We went in August of my year, right before I crowned the successor, and um, this was before they had uh, things that they spoke of their uh, a lot of the stuff I did was kind of just fluff. You go here, you go there, and the USO tour was one of the things that I really felt like we were making a difference. The war was raging at that time. We were there in August of '69, and there were 6 other of the state contestants that went with us, and we had a regular show of 20 or 25 singing and dancing numbers that we performed all over the country, from the Mekong Delta to 5 miles from the DMZ. And I'd run into guys from my hometown that I didn't even know were there.
Mhm.
And um, we also did handshake tours at the smaller fire support bases if we couldn't have do the actual show. And we visited guys in the hospital ships and hospitals, and I really felt like we made a difference. And 50 some years later, now with the internet, I in the last 2 years I've been getting correspondence from soldiers that were there and said,
Wow.
cleaning out a drawer and I found this picture, and I just thought I wanted to contact you and tell you what a difference you made while we were there, that you brought a little bit of home to us and showed us what we were fighting for. And I was like so touched by that. So
Wow, that's amazing.
yeah, so after all those years that they would take the time to do that, and so I
Mhm.
felt like we made a difference, and that I think is one of the things I'm most proud of.
Wow, that is an amazing memory. Such an amazing memory. Any other memories you want to share from your year?
There were a lot of late nights, sleepless nights. It's a grueling schedule. We traveled like 20,000 miles a month, over
Mhm.
200,000 miles during the year. And I don't think there was ever what I would call a typical day. I mean, you do different things every day. And obviously, because I couldn't, I did not do my talent. I couldn't schlep a trampoline around the country. And plus, unless you're doing it every day, it's not really safe to do. So I didn't perform my talent. And even in the USO tour, we just did an acrobatic dance. So, and also at that time, I was thinking, I hadn't decided my future. I thought perhaps I would go back to competition. And at that time, if you got paid for performing, you became a pro. So you lose your amateur status. So,
Oh,
so,
okay.
so that it's just as well.
Right, right. So since you competed, there have been so many changes. Excuse me. So platform came to be, and then that turned into social impact initiative, community service initiative. Excuse me. So evening gown turned to swims. Wait, evening gown turned to red carpet, and I think it's back. And then swimsuit turned to lifestyle and fitness, and then it went away, and then it came back. And of course, there's been leadership changes too. And we have a new leader now. So I'm just curious on any thoughts that you have about changes that have taken place. Do you think swimsuit is a good thing? Just what are your thoughts on that?
I really had no problem with doing away with swimsuit. I mean, as I said earlier, I worked all summer as a lifeguard. I lived in a swimsuit, but when you're heels and it's much more uncomfortable um, than it would have been in regular life. But anyway, so I had no problem with doing away with swimsuit, but I felt it was very important to keep the lifestyle and fitness in there, because I mean that's what we're trying to encourage the young women to take care of themselves and to be the best they can be and to be healthy. And, you don't need to be in a swimsuit, but, and I just thought it's very important to have that. And, the fitness industry is a $1 billion industry. I mean, if you want sponsors, if you say, well, we're going to do away with swimsuit, but we're going to have the girls wear your workout outfits, they might have been interested in being a sponsor. So,
Right.
I'm thrilled that it's back, and Revell is now one of the sponsors. So I'm thrilled, and I'm very much encouraged by the new leadership and Robin, and I think she's going to try to do a lot of changes. I hope we get back on television, because I think
Oh,
that's
that would be great.
the most important thing to me. I mean, if people can't watch it, or they have to pay to watch it, they won't.
Yeah.
And you're a pageant person. I mean, I would, even when I was teaching, when it was off for a few years, we were on CMT or we were on TLC, and I would be going out to the pageant, and my co-workers would say, "Oh, really? Is it even on?" They didn't.
Right.
So I really hope we can get back on network TV.
I agree. That would be great. Yeah, the past 2 years it was on Peacock, and then it was on Pageants Live. And like you said, unless you're a pageant person, you wouldn't know. People didn't know.
Pay a subscription to watch,
Yeah.
and have to cancel it. So, yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic that we can get it back to where it was.
I agree. I like Robin. I met her and I judged the Miss New Jersey pageant this year, and I met her at Miss New Jersey, and she ate dinner with us, and she seemed very smart and very nice. And yes, I feel optimistic that she's going to do a great job. All right, so when you competed around that time, there was a feminist protest, right? The liberation movement. I saw videos of people protesting, the pageant, like you're treating the women like cattle and stuff like that. Can
Yeah.
you just describe that atmosphere and just what it must have been like to be competing around that time when people were saying the pageant was so sexist?
Well, it was, they really tried to keep us away from it, but we would kind of peek out the doors, and of course it was on the news, so we knew what was happening. They actually, there was no burning of the bras. I mean, the boardwalk is wood; they would not have allowed any fire out there. But they did have big garbage cans, and they would drop their bras or their girdles or whatever in there, and they had all these signs and things, and looking back, I can see why they picked Miss America to protest, because we were the largest and the most well-known pageant around, and you could get a lot more press coverage by picketing the Miss America pageant. So, personally, but then I think as time went on, even the women in the women's movement, they realized that, the goals and aims of the women's movement and the Miss America pageant are very similar. We're both trying to empower women and let them be the best they can be, and give them opportunities and ways to do that. What I resented during my year was that, like, they would say, this is just a cattle thing. And I'm like, listen, in becoming Miss America, I have my entire college education paid for. I am paid for every appearance that I make. The pageant doesn't take a cut. I'm having the opportunity to travel and do all these wonderful things I wouldn't have been able to do otherwise. And so don't tell me that I am being exploited, because if that's exploitation, then go ahead and exploit me. No one put a gun to my head and said, you have to enter this pageant. I did it of my own free will. And I kind of resented being told that if I'm like pro pageant and if I think it's a good program, that I'm wrong, because I'm not smart enough to be able to figure that out. In retrospect, do I think the women's movement was necessary? Absolutely. and we still have a long ways to go. But so I do understand, why they picked us. Years later, I think on the 45th anniversary of the protests, they did a spread in Newsweek magazine about 1968, which pageant was held in September of 1968.
Mm-hmm.
And all the things that happened in 1968, some of the things I had forgotten about. Miss Black America was that was the first time that they had held their pageant, and that was right down the boardwalk. They had, the assassination of Martin Luther
King,
assassination of Bobby Kennedy, and all these things that in the protests of the pageant. So Newsweek did an article on 1968, and they brought me, and I think her last name was Morgan. Anyway, she was like one of the heads of the women's movement that promoted this protest.
Mm-hmm.
And so we went to this photographer's studio, and we walk in, and she looked at me and she said, "No offense." And I looked at her and I said, "None taken." So, but it was just a means to an end. And so, I just didn't take it personally, but I didn't like being told that I was wrong just because I had an opinion.
I think many people don't know the benefits of the Miss America organization, the Miss America opportunity. Now that's what it's called. But I mean, the scholarships, number one, like you said, for the misses and the teens, many of them girls get full scholarships to college. The interview skills that you get, the connections, all the traveling, it's amazing. Opportunities are amazing. And
Right.
I think a lot of people don't realize that.
Right. Yeah. And like I said, do I think pageants are for everyone? No. But if it's something that that you are so inclined to do, it can be a wonderful experience for you, and you can get a lot of benefits out of it. I ran into one gal one time that she said, I'm a very serious student. She said, "I don't want to win this. I really just want to be first runner up every year so I can get the most amount of scholarships to continue my schooling." So,
Yeah.
different reasons for different people to enter it.
I was a local director in Virginia in 2009, and there was a girl. She competed in every pageant and was a runner up. She ended up winning the sweeps pageant at the end, the very last one. But do you know she made $18,000 that year from being a runner up over and over and over and over again?
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
People
Yeah.
don't understand that the Miss America organization, it's the largest scholarship program in the world for young women. Has been, it's ever since I was competing. So all these years they just have scholarship money available for young women, and it's the largest one in the world.
Right. So I asked Miss America Dorothy Benham this, and I want to ask you too, just about talent. Think about some of the talents you've seen over the years. Just what are some of your favorites or some that stand out to you?
Oh my. Well, of course, Dorothy. I'll give a compliment back to her. I mean, what a voice that woman has. And
Oh my gosh, yeah. Oh my gosh.
I mean, I am always in awe of the singers because I wish I could sing. That's one of my biggest disappointments. I used to lip sync in front of the mirror with Barbara Streisand, and I really could have been a great lounge singer if I could sing, but I can't. So I appreciate. Yeah, Dorothy has a beautiful voice. Susan Powell. One of the first ones I remember was Vonda Van Dyke and her ventriloquist act. And I remember seeing that when I was in high school, and I was like, wow, she's really talented. So, back in those days, everybody watched the Miss America pageant. There were only like three stations, and would have parties, and and the first Saturday night after Labor Day in September, everybody watched Miss America.
Yeah.
When I was driving down to go to college, and my dad and my brother were driving me down, to Louisiana, and we stopped, and I kept a diary, and I said, we're stopped at whatever hotel, and we're watching Miss America. Miss Kansas won. Good night. And I thought, how funny that I didn't know that the next year Miss Kansas was going to be crowning me.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, so
That's amazing.
yeah, I mean, I think all of the girls are so talented, and it's so hard to pick, you
Yeah.
know, any of them that, the one that I was totally impressed with was Heather Whitestone.
Yes.
She could dance like that without hearing the music. I mean, that to me is amazing.
Oh my God. Her ballet, it's amazing. It is amazing. I think, yeah, everybody just has to give it up for it. That was an amazing talent.
Yes.
So what was life for you after the crown? Your career, children, life after you gave up life after the crown, after you gave up the crown, what was your life like?
Well, I was only 18 when I won, so I still had 3.5 years of college. So I went back, transferred to the University of Illinois because I actually had already transferred there after I won Miss Illinois because I was going to have responsibilities within the state. So um, I went back to the University of Illinois and got my degree from there.
Mhm.
Uh, I got married the first time in 1971, and I had two boys, and they are now in their late 40s.
Okay.
And I continued to make appearances, and do things on a limited basis. So it's kind of like I could be like a stay-at-home mom most of the time and still have a little bit of my own career. So it was kind of the best of both worlds. Um, I got divorced in the 80s,
Mhm.
and then I remarried in 1990. And my current husband and I, we have a blended family. We had, when we got married, we had a sixth grader, two seventh graders, a ninth grader, and a 10th grader.
Wow.
um, and now they're all married and have children. We have 13 grandchildren and three step great grandchildren. So it's, life's good. And I went back to teaching and taught elementary PE for 20 years. And I also coached the high school girls golf team and 17 basketball.
Well, we have that in common. We're both educators. I was an English teacher, now I'm an assistant principal.
Nice.
Yeah. So, what do you want your legacy to be when people think about Judy Ford Nash? What do you want them to think? What do you want to be remembered for?
Well, because I was the first real athlete to win Miss Illinois and Miss America, um, I would like to be remembered as someone who brought kind of feminism to that area. When I won Miss Illinois, they took me to a modeling um, agency in Chicago to teach me how to walk. And
Okay.
so I'm like, I've been walking since I was a year old, but okay, fine. Well, teach me how to walk. So we went in there and, I walked back and forth and she goes, you walk like an athlete. And I went, okay.
Oh,
She goes, no, 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 no. That was not a compliment. So, and back then, I mean, like when I won um, Miss Illinois, they first of all said, go out and have a great time because you don't have a chance to win this thing. You have three strikes against you before you even step on stage. One, you're a blonde. Blonde hasn't won in 12 years. Second, you're only 18, and that's really kind of too young to be Miss America. And third, your talent, it can go either way. It might be construed as being too masculine.
mhm.
And so, back then, he said, Miss America's not supposed to sweat. So, so actually kind of took all the pressure off me. So I thought, I'll just go out and have a good time. So that's what I did.
Speaking of being a blonde, someone asked me to ask you, did your board ask you to dye your hair?
Oh, they were going to turn my hair brown. Yeah.
Oh, and you
But,
refused
well,
it.
Debbie Bryant had emceed the Miss Illinois pageant the
Mhm.
year that I won. And I mean, she's a beautiful woman. And um, so after, in that 6 weeks, they were like, okay, a blonde hasn't won in 12 years. And even then, it wasn't like a light blonde. So we were thinking, isn't Debbie's hair a beautiful color? And I went, yeah, on Debbie. But I said, that was one thing I did put my foot down. I said, no, I said, if you turn my hair, no one will even know it's me. I've been a blonde my entire life. Although then I did have to, Tony was a sponsor and they would say, I wasn't supposed to say that I colored my hair.
Oh,
they'd say, "Do you color your hair?" And I would just say, "I'm a natural blonde," which I am, not this color, but I'm a natural blonde. So
Right.
it was kind of a little bit of a white lie.
Yeah, well, it worked out for you and your beautiful blonde hair. You look beautiful all the time. I have one more video before I want to show before I end. Just showing the audience how amazing and gracious and gorgeous you were and are. So here's one more video of Miss America Judi Ford Nash 1969.
Ford, Miss Illinois. Miss Illinois. Judith Ann Ford, Miss Illinois. Judith Ann Ford, Miss Illinois.
Judith is from the University of Illinois, where she's a sophomore. She's 18 years old, majors in physical education, and she's from Belvedere, Illinois.
I must say I love your style was amazing. Like
So
whoever picked your clothes, whoever picked your clothes, they did a great job.
thank you, thank you. But in that opening number, I think there was one of the sponsors was a millinery like company, so everybody had to wear a hat, and
Okay.
we carried hat boxes. Well, with the beehive, a hat really was not really conducive to that.
Right.
And during the year, I had to travel with, and I had to wear hats like pretty much when I'm traveling. And I used to joke with my traveling companion. I said, "Well, if you go into any busy airport, you can always pick out Miss America and her traveling companion because they're the only two in the whole place wearing hats."
Well, your style was great and you are
Thank
great. And I'm so glad that I got to meet you and talk to you. So I'm going to end the show. Please stay on and I'm going to end it with the guest. To the guests, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the show. I hope you enjoyed getting to know Miss America 1969, Judi Ford Nash. Once again, please subscribe. Please click the notifications bell. Please support the podcast so I can keep bringing you good interviews. Have a good day, everyone, and look for my next show in a few days. And once again, thanks again and have a good day.